Prince William walks into diplomatic storm on royal visit as Israeli minister slams organizers for claiming Jerusalem's Old City is in the occupied Palestinian territories. Prince William has taken his first historic steps on Israeli soil, becoming the only member of the British royal family to visit the Jewish state in an official capacity. His Royal Air Force plane landed at Tel Aviv's Ben Gurion Airport at 6:16 p.m. local time, and he will now travel on to Jerusalem for a 4-day trip that will include a visit to the occupied Palestinian territories. He was met by Israeli Tourism Minister Yariv Levine, British Ambassador to Israel, David Quarry, and the Israeli Ambassador to the UK, Mark Regev. However, the prince's arrival caused a diplomatic stir just hours after the plane touched down. The itinerary includes Jerusalem's Old City as part of the occupied Palestinian territories. In a statement to launch the trip, Kensington Palace had said a day in the occupied Palestinian territories will begin with a short briefing on the history and geography of Jerusalem's Old City from a viewing point at the Mount of Olives. Many countries do not recognize Israel's annexation of East Jerusalem, where the Old City and many holy sites sacred to a number of religions are found. Jerusalem Affairs Minister Zev Elkin reportedly told Israeli website Ynet News, "It is regrettable that in Britain they chose to politicize the royal visit. United Jerusalem has been the capital of Israel for 3,000 years, and no distortion in the tour itinerary can change that reality." Prince William will stay at the King David Hotel in historic Jerusalem, once the scene of an horrific terror attack in 1946 by Zionist paramilitary group the Irgun, for the remainder of the trip. Upon arrival, hotel bosses have instructed staff to make scones, with clotted cream and strawberry jam for the Duke of Cambridge as a welcome gift. Following a relatively relaxed start to his visit to the Middle East, which included watching England v Panama with Jordan's crown prince and a drinks reception last night, William will now begin his historic tour of the West Bank. The Duke of Cambridge will also meet with both Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Jerusalem and Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas in the West Bank city of Ramallah at a time of widening rifts between the two sides. On Tuesday, the prince, the second in line to the British throne, will visit Jerusalem's Yad Vashem Holocaust Memorial, where he will meet 2 survivors who escaped Nazi Germany for the safety of Britain. The memorial has recognized Prince William's great-grandmother, Princess Alice, as righteous among the nations for her role in rescuing Jews during the Holocaust. Later this week, Prince William will head to Tel Aviv to attend a football game of young Jewish and Arab players. It is the right moment, we think, for a visit to really shine a light on that relationship and show how strong the contemporary relationship is between the two countries, Ambassador David Quarry told the Associated Press. The Duke is very clear that he wants to come and get under the skin of the country. He wants to get a feel for Israel. He wants to get a flavor of the country. The decision by the U.S. to move its embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem last month sparked the worst wave of violence for 4 years and left 60 Palestinians dead and more than 2,000 injured. Last week, Israeli forces launched airstrikes on Palestinian militant positions in the Gaza Strip after rockets and mortars were fired into Israel. During his visit to the country, William will visit the World Holocaust Remembrance Center and lay a wreath where the ashes of victims are buried. He will also visit Jerusalem's Old City and the grave of his great-grandmother, Princess Alice of Greece, Prince Philip's mother. In a 1994 visit to Yad Vashem, Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, planted a tree there in his mother's honor. Princess Alice hid 3 members of the Cohen family in her palace in Athens during the Nazi occupation of Greece in World War II. Thanks to her, the Cohen family survived and today lives in France. The princess died in 1969, and in 1988 her remains were brought to Jerusalem. The prince will also cross the border into Palestine to visit Ramallah on the West Bank, where he will focus on issues facing refugee communities and meet President Abbas. A Kensington Palace spokesman said, "The historic nature of this tour is, of course, important, and the Duke of Cambridge considers it a great privilege to be undertaking the first ever official royal tour of Israel and the Palestinian territories." A diplomatic source said the UK was keen to get a royal tour under their belt in the hope it would pave the way for further visits to the region, highlighting the fact that the issues between Israel and Palestine are far from resolved. Kensington Palace has underlined the non-political nature of His Royal Highness's role, in common with all royal visits overseas, but the region is a minefield of sensitivities. Though the trip is being billed as non-political, and places a special emphasis on technology and joint Israeli-Arab projects, the Duke of Cambridge will also be meeting with Israeli and Palestinian leaders, and visiting landmark Jerusalem sites at the heart of the century-old conflict. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict typically looms large, even during largely ceremonial visits, and the Duke of Cambridge will have to maneuver carefully to avoid missteps. Last week, an Israeli cabinet minister complained about the royal itinerary's reference to Jerusalem as part of the occupied Palestinian territories, calling it a distortion of reality. Meanwhile, the Palestinians claimed the trip was an indirect apology for Britain's role in the region, reports The Telegraph. The prince will stay at the King David Hotel in Jerusalem for the rest of the trip. It is the site of the former administrative headquarters of the British Mandate and was the scene of an horrific terror attack on July 22, 1946 by Zionist paramilitary group the Irgun. The bombing destroyed the entire south side of the hotel, which had been used as the central offices of the British Mandatory Authorities of Palestine, claiming the lives of 92 people, including scores of British soldiers. The director of operations at the King David Hotel in Jerusalem, Sheldon Ritz, this week told Jewish News that the prince will take one of the 3 suites on the top floor, either the Jerusalem suite, the royal suite or the presidential suite, which all face the Old City. On his arrival, hotel bosses have instructed staff to make some scones, with clotted cream and strawberry jam for the Duke as a welcome gift. The Duke's Middle East trip concludes on Thursday. Earlier today, the Duke of Cambridge revealed how his wife is saddened to be missing his trip to the Middle East Jordan, as she really loved Jordan, where he started his visit, when she lived there for 3 years as a child. Kate's family moved to Jordan in May 1984 when she was aged 2 and her sister Pippa was just 8 months old, after father Michael, a British Airways manager, relocated to the Jordanian capital of Amman for work. The Duchess of Cambridge has not accompanied her husband on the trip as she is on maternity leave following the birth of their 3rd child, Prince Louis. Speaking to a charity boss, William said, "She loved it here. She really did. She is very upset that I am coming here without her." The prince visited the Drash archaeological site this morning and was photographed at the same spot where his wife was once pictured playing when she lived in the country as a 4-year-old. Organizers of the prince's visit had placed a large picture of the Duchess of Cambridge as a child pictured with her father and younger sister some 30 years previously. William, 36, was walking with Jordan's Crown Prince Hussein, 23, when he spotted the large photo, a copy of which was released to the public just before the Cambridges married in 2011. The second in line to the throne made a joke about his father-in-law, telling the Crown Prince, "Michael's looking very smart in his flip-flops." He posed for a picture at the same spot, telling photographers, "We'll have to bring the kids next time." Samia Khoury, director of museums at the Jordan's Department of Antiquities, guided the 2 princes around the sprawling site during a half-hour tour. She said, "He was very surprised when he saw the photo. He did not expect that. But that's why he was here, because he wanted to take a photo at the same spot where Kate was photographed." The Duke spent last night watching England v Panama on catch-up at the home of the Crown Prince of Jordan in Amman, after asking journalists traveling with him on the plane, on pain of death, "Please don't tell me the score." At a reception at the British Embassy in Amman last night, Prince William praised the historic ties and friendship between Britain and Jordan and said that his wife, the Duchess of Cambridge, spent almost 3 years in Jordan as a child when her father worked there for British Airways. Kate's family moved to Jordan in May 1984 when she was aged 2 and her sister Pippa was just 8 months old. She went to an English-language nursery while her parents were in the country for almost 3 years, before they returned to Berkshire in 1986. The Duke said she was very sorry that she was not able to join him on the trip so soon after the April birth of their son Louis, later gushing about how much she loved living in Jordan as a child. William met Rania Malki, chief executive of Save the Children in Jordan, during the evening reception at the British Embassy. The charity boss said she knew the house where the Duchess lived while she was in Jordan because it is now the home of her children's pediatrician. "No way," the Duke replied. "She will be thrilled. She loved it here. She really did. She is very upset that I am coming here without her. Today, in Drash's well-preserved amphitheater, the Duke and Crown Prince met refugee Syrian mothers and their children who are being supported by the Makani program, a nationwide charity that works with those from deprived backgrounds, especially refugee communities. Sat on a chair and surrounded by the women and youngsters, he patiently chatted to one mother through an interpreter, asking where she was from in Syria, what the education provision was like for her child and her hopes for the future. He told her at the end, "Very nice to meet you and I hope one day you go back to Syria." When a little girl came up to him he asked her age and when told she was 5, replied, "My little boy is called George, he's 5 as well." Some older children had performed a welcome dance for the royals when they arrived and William and Hussein later admired some artwork they had done before leaving. Later William tucked into local fresh bread. He visited the Dynama Center in Franja, which offers support and education for orphaned Jordanian women. He was shown around the site by Dr. Agadirjwan who was described as the mother of the organization. The prince went into a room to see the process of felt being made which is then sold to tourists in Amman. Taking hold of a small green ball of felt, he said, "They look like Brussels sprouts." The prince was then shown a processes used by the women to make herbal oils before going on to watch local breads fatar and taboon being baked on site. Crouching down to watch the breads being fried he was told that the woman was using a recipe passed on by her grandma. After popping a piece in his mouth he said, "Very good. Your grandmother taught you very well." The center was founded in 2010 to help women in Jordan who have no family and struggle to find support after turning 18. William was then introduced to Lana Muslim, 29, who was abandoned as a baby, and was raised in an orphanage. He said, "The story is very hard to hear, everything that you have been through. You are doing wonderful things here." On leaving the site, which was built in 2010 by the women using a mix of mud and straw, he made a promise to return with his wife Kate. Prince William later tried his hand at making a frappuccino, but admitted he lacked artistic flourish. The future king was asked to drizzle the top of the creamy coffee confection with vanilla syrup and while he gamely agreed, he admitted, "I wasn't too good at art at school." "Well, it looks good enough anyway. Someone drink it for me, will you?" The prince was visiting Al-Quds, a vocational training college with impressive facilities and links to Middlesex University in the Jordanian capital. The school offers courses in everything from hospitality to hair and beauty, film and audio engineering. The site in Amman has around 5,000 students enrolled a year, of which some 50% are Syrian and Palestinian refugees who have their education paid for by donors. His first stop was the audio engineering department which boasts a magnificent £1.5 million sound and mixing deck made in Manchester. William marveled at the 1,000+ knobs as indie rock band Random House played in a soundproof studio. "I guess once you know your way around it gets easier," he told tutor Tark Mirza, 33. He added, "I could play with this all day. It makes me really want to go back to university." He also stopped off to watch film students Yazan Nofel, 25, and Medina Hawashin who were performing in an original screenplay set in the 1970s. The prince was even persuaded to shout action. He finally stopped off at the hospitality center, which mimics a 5-star hotel, where he tried his hand at finishing off the frappuccino but declined to try it. Hanan Ashrawi, a senior official of the Palestine Liberation Organization, said she welcomes William's visit to the West Bank as a chance to see Palestinian reality under Israeli occupation firsthand. This visit is the first of its kind and represents an opportunity to enhance relations between Prince William and the Palestinian people on all the levels, she said. William is visiting a region where 3 decades of British rule between the 2 world wars helped establish some of the fault lines of today's Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Britain's withdrawal from the region after World War II led to the eventual establishment of Israel and Jordan. Jordan's ruling Hashemite dynasty has strong ties to Britain. The second marriage of the late King Hussein was to a British citizen, Antoinette Gardner, who took the title Princess Muna and is the mother of the current monarch, King Abdullah II. Hussein, Abdullah and Crown Prince Hussein all attended Sandhurst, the British Military Academy, as did William. A Kensington Palace spokesman said, The historic nature of this tour is of course important, and the Duke considers it a great privilege to be undertaking the first ever official royal tour of Israel and the occupied Palestinian territories, and to be able to help further strengthen the friendship between Jordan and the United Kingdom. The visit comes at a particularly volatile time after U.S. President Donald Trump recognized Jerusalem as capital of Israel and moved Washington's embassy there, sparking Arab outrage and deadly clashes. But diplomatic sources say it is about time the trip went ahead and hope it will pave the way for further visits. This morning he visited Drash, which lies on a plain surrounded by woodland and fertile basins and has been inhabited for more than 6,500 years. Its imposing ceremonial gates, colonnades, soaring temples and theaters all date back to 63 BC, when it was conquered by General Pompey. Under Roman rule, Drash, then known as Gerasa, enjoyed something of a golden age with wide, paved avenues, handsome theaters and public squares, plazas, baths and fountains. He has 2 further engagements in Amman today before flying to Israel this afternoon.